Good morning, welcome back to Warwickshire Walks and Beyond. You join me today on a very sunny Tuesday morning. It is 16th of June 2026 and to follow on from the last narrated video walk that I did, I'm actually going to take us today from Whitebridge onto Offchurch, but along the way I've come through the wildflower meadow, which is in the Newbold Comyn Nature Reserve in Leamington Spa, and it's looking particularly colourful today. So what I thought I'd do is, as I'm passing through, is just give you a little glimpse. So this isn't even at its full height and full bloom at the moment, but this is a really lovely spot if you're interested in insects and small beasts. Great place for butterflies too. In fact, there's, probably won't get it on camera, but there's one down there, possibly a speckled wood. This is a really lovely spot, and as I said in the last video, it's really nice that Warwick District Council kind of just let this land be. I have no idea whether they actually plant these flowers or whether these just are all kind of self-seeded, but each year from late May onwards all the way through August, this is an absolutely amazing spot for wildflowers. So if wildflowers and insects are your thing, definitely come to the Newbold Comyn Nature Reserve. For now though, I'm going to continue heading towards Whitebridge, so I'll probably stop the video for a little while until we get to Whitebridge, and then we'll pick up the walk there and I'll show you the final route that takes you from Whitebridge all the way through into Offchurch village. So I shall say goodbye for now, but for you it'll be instantaneous. See you in a mo. Hello, welcome back again. So I'm now on the final approach to the field that takes you to Whitebridge. This is a lovely spot. Some beautiful birdsong at the moment, which I'm hoping the microphone will pick up for you. This is very much the sound of summer for me. So that's where we're heading to. We're going to cut across that field. If you remember in my previous video where I walked to Whitebridge, I did mention that there were often cows in that field. Today we're actually going to get to see some. The route we've just come is that way takes you back to the common. So you kind of follow that track. It veers slightly to the right. There's a little gap in the hedge which I hope you can see. Head into that field and stick to the left hand side hedge, and that will take you through to a little cut through back onto Newbold Common. But for today we're going to have a wander into Offchurch, so that's going to mean heading diagonally to the right through this next field and negotiating our way through the cows, who are very blasé. I was very blasé about last time and said that I've never had any trouble with them. And I haven't, but it is sod's law that now that I'm on camera, they're going to give me a bit of grief, but I don't think they will, to be honest. Although one has just eyeballed me. In fact, two of them, they're all eyeballing me now. Usually when I come through this field of course, and if there's cows in it, I'm usually not actually narrating or talking to myself. I'm usually silent, so I dare say it's more the noise that I'm making that's making them a little bit curious. They're a fine looking bunch of animals. There's an alternative route you can take that way. I mentioned that in the previous video as well, so you can kind of just follow that trail. It is marked out with the little yellow arrows that tell you where you can walk and where you can't, and if you follow those, essentially that will take you all the way to Windmill Hill in Covington village, which is on the outskirts of Leamington Spa. For today we're going to head towards Whitebridge, and from there we're going to continue our journey into the heart of Offchurch, as that's a really nice walk to do. It's quite warm out at the moment, I think the country, the UK, is slowly gearing itself up for another kind of mini heat wave. I don't think it's going to be as hot as the one we had at the end of May. At least I hope not, because we had certain parts of the country got over 30 degrees. And that is, for me, it's really, really not comfortable. I think today we might be around the 23, 24, maybe even the 25 degree mark a little bit later. I think at the moment it's probably about 21, 22, but it is very, very humid today. There's still quite a bit of cloud cover. So Whitebridge is just coming into view at the moment. This is a lovely little spot. I think I spoke a little bit more about it in the previous video, but it seems to have a lot of resonance for a lot of local people. I'm guessing both from Leamington and Offchurch, as there's usually two-way traffic. This route isn't heavily used, but it is used, and it seems to be known by a few rather than the many. And I have to say, even though I'm kind of filming this and putting it out on YouTube, I kind of like the fact that the majority of people seem to be completely ignorant that they can walk from Leamington to Offchurch. But amazingly, and for me it is amazing, not everyone sees the benefit of walking out in the countryside. So as you can see, the cows are just they're slowly making their way to this field, maybe even to get a drink from the River Leam, which at the moment isn't too high. We've not had a massive amount of rainfall this summer. When we do get rain, it tends to be really, really heavy for a day or two, and then we get nothing for weeks and weeks. Which my sons will definitely argue is a sign of climate catastrophe and the normal order not really asserting itself as it should. So this is definitely one of my favourite spots in Leamington Spa. It's a place I've come to often over the years, either to clear my head, to kind of relieve anxiety, to take photos, or even when I'm happy, just to kind of up that happiness level a little bit more by being somewhere absolutely beautiful. People do sometimes sit on the bank down there and fish as well. The Leam doesn't always look like it's the healthiest river. I think there's a bit of a misnomer with rivers. When you kind of see them and they're looking brown, there's kind of an assumption that a lot of people make that they must be dirty and not healthy. But I know in the case of the River Leam, it's quite clear at this point. Further into Leamington it can get a little bit murky, but I know I can't think what they're called now, but there's like a group that kind of oversees the health of our rivers in this country, and I know every couple of years they do run tests on the Leam. I think they usually pass a very, very mild electric current into the water briefly, just to temporarily stun the fish, and any that's in there kind of float to the surface, and they can do a rough count and get an idea of numbers. And from what I've been told, the Leam is remarkably healthy in terms of fish life. Got a lot of tench. We've even got eels apparently. Probably not at this point, but certainly heading into Leamington Spa. So as I'm talking, my bovine colleagues are wending their way into the next field. Looks like they've got some young ones with them as well. Beautiful animals. As you can see, they're not particularly fussed by me at all. Not sure what the attraction is of this field compared to the previous one, but I always like to head over here. Anyway, this video isn't called Cow Watch, so we're going to continue on our way. So it's a relatively easy walk to Offchurch from this point. It's just a case of crossing the bridge and following the trail. So it's quite early in the morning at the moment. It's only it's just gone 9:30 in the morning. So the air is still quite fresh and cool. As you can see, this part of the trail gets boggy quite quickly when we have had rain. And as I said, we've not had rain for a week or so, but this part of the trail does seem to retain the water. I'm guessing it's because we've got of the proximity of the River Leam. So we've got a tributary of the Leam that way, and there's also one the other side of us as well. So we're almost on a little narrow spit of land at this point. So I'm guessing the soil here retains moisture for a lot longer. So this is usually a great spot for demoiselles. Sadly, none today. And this is where the two sides of the Leam merge into one before they continue on their way down into Leamington Spa. So let's head through this gate here. So as I mentioned in my previous video, a lot of my recent films have been Leamington centric, and this is due to a number of reasons. So as I alluded to last time, I've got a condition related to pre-diabetes, which means I have to be a little bit careful in terms of how much physical activity I do, when I do it and what temperatures I do it in, which I won't go into the detail on that because it's not very pleasant. But I've also got other commitments as well that at the moment are eating pleasurably into my time, shall we say. But I am hoping to start doing films and videos of areas a little bit more further afield. Certainly areas that are outside Leamington Spa, much as I love Leamington Spa. But Warwickshire is a big county, and there are lots of walks all over the place that I would like to get to and film for you. So for those of you that have the time and the inclination, I guess you can compare this lane to the previous video I shot here a couple of weeks ago. And to my mind, it's really blooming at the moment. It's really looking quite verdant. At the height of summer, this is really lovely to walk down. It's even better in the autumn as well, because you get the really nice orange and brown colour gradation of the leaves as you're looking down here. Great place to come and take photos. So the land either side of this lane is private. I'm reasonably certain, unless anyone corrects me, that land is owned and maintained and run by Offchurch Bury Polo Club. And I think they do a lot of events here. I think if you head that way towards probably their main buildings, and I know in these paddocks there are lots of horses, and I think, are they horses or are they cows? I think those are horses up there. So there's quite a few horses there under the trees, and as you can see, it's very clear, private, no public right of way, but this lane definitely is fine to walk down. genuinely thought he was walking a dog. But he seems to be a lone walker like me. As I said, there is two-way traffic along this route, but it is fairly infrequent. Gets a little bit busier in the summer months, obviously. But if you're looking for solitude on a walk, then it's always, you're always going to get that probably more in the winter. Dog walkers aside, you're always out and about. I always feel it's a bit of a catch-22 situation, because I'm very mindful that being out and about in nature, doing these types of walk, are very, very good for everyone's mental health. I think a lot of people don't do it because they're either ignorant of the fact, or they've never really tried it and they've made the assumption that it's not going to work for them, it's not going to do anything for them. In this technical age that we live in, it's very easy to kind of get sucked into your computer and your phone. And that seems to be the first recourse for a lot of people when they want some downtime, is to turn on a screen and either doom scroll or chat with people or play computer games. And everyone seems to overlook the simple and completely free pleasure of just taking a walk. I mean, obviously people big up the health aspects of it. It's good for your circulation, it's good for your heart. For a lot of people, it's the best form of exercise you can get. Relatively low impact on your body. You can walk at your own pace, and you can dictate how far you want to walk as well. But for me, the aesthetics of a place like this are really, really what feed my soul. So I hope wherever you are viewing this video from, that you have access to areas of natural beauty like this, and that you avail yourselves of them. Because land like this, although it's supposed to be protected, and everyone talks about green belt lands, I'm very aware at the moment, especially in the UK, there is a push for more social housing, and inevitably land like this that lies in between villages or in between towns tends to get eaten into. And I may do some walks in the future just in areas that are currently under threat because of that. So I get that it's a difficult balance for councils to strike, but let's not overlook the fact that for the good of our health, we need open spaces like this that are easily accessible and free for people to get to. The mental health and emotional health aspect of taking walks in places like this should not be understated. If you've never tried it and you've just found your way to this video by accident and you're wondering what it's all about, give it a go. I mean, we've all, as kids, been to parks, right? Or most of us have, I would think. And a lot of that enjoyment, particularly for me when I think back, was all about being out and about on a summer's day, feeling the sun on my face, getting some vitamin D. Obviously these days you need to protect yourself, but a little bit of vitamin D, and I think even a little bit of ultraviolet does you good as well, but obviously you need to manage that and be careful. So I think last time we walked as far as that tree there. So today we're going to complete the walk to Offchurch, and I suspect we're going to be following that lady and her dog for part of the way. Given the walking pace of that dog, I suspect he might be a bit of an old boy who's just kind of content to take a nice leisurely stroll, and I don't blame him or her. So It's rather lovely that this field as well has been left to go a little bit wild. So I can see we've got lots of cow parsley in there, and a few other wildflowers as well, some buttercups. And the nice thing about this walk, particularly in this area, is we are literally about no more than 15 or 20 minutes away from civilization, but you really do feel like you are out in the middle of nowhere. So when I first set off out this morning, the sky was clear blue, but it's, as is typical for the UK, it's doing its best to cloud up at the moment. Nevertheless, this is perfect walking weather. It's dry, there's a nice breeze, and it's not too hot. So the lady and her dog have just cut across the field, so I am surmising that she too is heading on her way to Offchurch. I can remember walking from Leamington to Offchurch when I was at junior school. I think I would have been about maybe 9 or 10, and we did a two-night residential stay at Offa House in Offchurch. The school I went to was St Paul's Junior School at the top of Holywell. So shout out to any old ex-pupils of St Paul's School, particularly if you were there from about 1778 through to about 81, because that would have been the time that I was there. Let's have a nice look at this view. As I said, we did a 2-night residential stay at Offa House in Offchurch, which is somewhere in that direction. And I'm pretty certain we more or less walked this route. And as a 10-year-old, it felt like we walked for miles and miles and miles, and it felt like it took most of the day. And I can remember back in my early 20s when I kind of first rediscovered this route, obviously being amazed at just how quickly you can get here. So although as a child, me and my classmates felt like we were being walked really, really hard and walking miles and miles, they were probably quite easy on us. I think the route is probably 2 or 3 miles. It's not actually that far, so it is a nice walk to do if you're new to walking. You haven't got to follow the route that I've done today. You can park in Offchurch and just have a little foray out into the fields and back again. There are loads of apps you can download. You can obviously get access to various resources online as well, which will show you all the public rights of way, so you can actually construct your own walk. It's not always that clear. I have to say I'm not the greatest map reader in the world, and regular viewers of my channel, I mean, there's at least one video that I filmed purely as a result of getting lost and taking a wrong turning. I think that was walking through farmland just outside Wellesbourne. But sometimes that voyage of discovery is very, very rewarding. Don't know whether the wildflowers are being picked up by the camera. This is lovely. As always, when I come out filming to make videos, I always kind of regret that I haven't brought my stills cameras with me, but I learned very early on that you really, really can't do 2 things at once. You end up doing both badly. So I very much have to get into the mindset, if I'm coming out to do a film, then I'm just bringing my trusty DJI Osmo Pocket 4, and I will just film. If I'm doing stills work, then I will just bring my Sonys. I'm not sponsored by any of these people, by the way. Very happy to take your money and take some free equipment if any is on offer. But I think at the moment, given the smallness of my channel, that is highly unlikely. So other side of those trees there is a main road. You can drive from Leamington obviously to Offchurch. You can also walk that route as well. It's not as picturesque as coming across the fields, but it is nevertheless very, very pretty. I've done it many times. Back in my 20s when I was a keen cyclist, I've also cycled it as well. Every now and then I get on a whim, I have the urge to kind of get back into cycling. I had my bike for many years. Last time I rode it would have been about 2020, when even though I got it all serviced and kind of passed as being fit for purpose, it did actually collapse on me when I hit a sunken drain due to, I think it was metal fatigue in the end, and I ended up in hospital in A&E with two black eyes, nearly a broken nose, and a little part of my ear missing. And I now also have, you probably can't see it in this light, but a slight Harry Potter scar as well. I am the boy who lived, but it was only a very, very minor bike accident, though it did knock me unconscious for a few minutes. Bike was a write-off, and I've never really replaced it, mainly because I drive now anyway. But on days like this, I do think, oh, it would be nice to have a bike. Quite intrigued by electric bikes. I know they're quite expensive. I'm guessing the advantage of those is it increases capacity in terms of distance and makes it a little bit easier for you, obviously. And at 57 years of age, I am not averse to having things a little bit easier for me. But if any of you have an electric bike and want to share your experiences of what that's like, whether it's a good thing, whether you think it's a good investment, or whether you hardly use it, what are the disadvantages, I'd be very, very interested to know. And I'll thank you in advance for any information. The chances of me buying one are very, very slim. As to be honest, if I had that kind of spare cash lying around, I would more than likely be buying myself a new camera. I am addicted to photographic equipment. So we're now going to head through. This is the last field now that will take us on to Offchurch village. So that's the way we've come. Got the River Leam now on our left, down the bottom of the hill. This field occasionally has livestock in it as well, though not as frequently as the one on the other side of Whitebridge. There's some great views here out over the countryside between Offchurch and Covington. Hunningham village is in that direction, another few miles. I have done a non-narrated walk from Offchurch to Hunningham. That really does take you out through the countryside and through farmland as well. It also takes you past the HS2 line that's been in construction for God knows how long and currently seems still to be not working or indeed going anywhere. I'll try not to be too political on this channel, but I'm not particularly impressed with the route the HS2 line has taken through this area. It runs very, very close to some quiet little villages, so their lives are going to be transformed for the worse, I think, by the noise of trains rattling along the tracks at various parts of the day and night. And I'm very aware as well that they've gouged a sway through Covington Woods, which doesn't mean a damn thing to probably the majority of people watching this video, but for locals around here, it's not really a good thing, really. And the fact that, you know, this new HS2 line it's really just taking you and linking up places that were already linked up. Just seems crazy to me. Back when the idea of it was first mooted and it was going to kind of have a nice, efficient, fast service between the north and the south, that seemed okay. I can kind of see where they're going with that, but they're not even doing that now. Sorry, I did say I wasn't going to get political, but now I suddenly have. Does that make me a NIMBY? I don't know. But I do feel very, very protective of places like this. Not just in my area as well, I think all over the country, all over the world, for the reasons that I mentioned earlier in this video. You know, these places are important. At the end of the day, as a species, you know, we weren't living in houses when we were first appeared on this planet. We were in areas like this. So being outside, being in nature, it should speak to the soul of all of us, unless of course you are some, I don't know, money grabbing right-wing politician who essentially doesn't have a soul because you've sold it to Beelzebub. Again, apologies for the politics. If you don't like my politics, don't bother leaving a comment, just don't subscribe to the channel. Very, very simple. However, if you get what I'm saying and you're agreeing, or you don't care about the politics and you just like the nature and the walks, you're very, very welcome. And I'm very grateful for everybody who has subscribed so far. I think I'm on about 228 subscribers when I checked this morning. Very, very modest. Still a long way off from the magic 1000. So at the moment, YouTube is getting all my content for free and sticking adverts on it, and I don't make a penny. But I do enjoy being out, taking photos and making films, and I'd be doing that anyway. So if other people are getting some enjoyment out of it, even if it's only 228, then I consider that a job well done. So you can see some buildings across the road. In fact, there'll be a car appearing any minute now. There you go. So this is now Offchurch village. Very, very simple, easy walk. We'll have a quick nosy in the village as well, and I can point out the stag at Offchurch. Again, they're not sponsoring this video. It is the only pub here in Offchurch. So if you've walked all this way and you're looking for refreshment, the stag, which is right in front of me, is your best option. Unless you brought yourself a picnic, which I always mean to do, but never remember. So this here is the bottom of School Hill. You can take a wander up there to the church, whose name will probably appear in text at the bottom of this video, as I momentarily can't remember it. It's quite a steep hill to climb, but it's worth having a look around the church and the churchyard. It's a very, very traditional looking English village church. So this is the stag. I've had some lovely meals in here in the past. As you can see, Offchurch is a very, very pretty little village. So before I end the video, I'll just point out where you need to walk to if you want to take a longer walk and walk from here on to Hunningham. If I can find it. I think it's been about a year. Here we go. So essentially you're looking for that. Head down that way, head through the gate, and that will take you across some farmlands and on to Hunningham. The way is marked out, but you do need to keep an eye out for it. And as you can see, because of the H2 line, I think they're saying the bridleway has temporarily been closed. Haven't made that walk for a while. When I did make it, part of it was kind of fenced off with Harris fencing by the people constructing the HS2 line, but there was a checkpoint, if you like, which they kind of opened up for me and let me through. So I'd be tempted to give that a go. Can't do it today as I don't have time, but to my mind you can still get from here through to Hunningham. So as you can see, the Stag is a very, very handsome looking pub. You can check online for their menu and their drinks menu and their prices. It's a lovely spot to come to, and there's a nice area out back where you can sit out in the summer and partake of a cold libation. In fact, you can just see some of the chairs there. So lots of nice properties down here. A few with thatched roofs, which always look attractive. Part of me would love a thatched roof cottage, but I'm terrified of the upkeep and the cost of maintaining that. I believe you have to get them rethatched every few years, and it's not cheap. And I'm assuming as well that it has to be done to a very, very specific standard. You can follow this road on. It'll take you on to Welsh Road and on into Covington. Excuse me. And from Covington, you can obviously head through Lillington. And if you want an idea of where Lillington is, it is Eden Court Flats there. That kind of pinpoints Lillington quite nicely for us. And then Leamington Spa itself is kind of, as we're looking at it, to the left of those flats, right over the fields that way. So there you go. So that's Whitebridge to Offchurch on a beautiful summer's day. This video is about 35 minutes. I'm aware I've probably cut out maybe about 10 minutes of walking, so that gives you a fair idea. And I've taken, admittedly, a fairly brisk pace, but I'm not too out of breath. You can take a more leisurely pace, bring yourself a cold drink, time it for when the Stag is open, have a nice drink, and then walk back across the fields. That, to me, is a lovely way to spend any day, not even just a summer's day. So thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much for listening. Hope my narration has been interesting, engaging, and not too boring. If you've enjoyed the video, please hit the like button. If you're not already subscribed, please do hit the subscribe button. As I said, I'm really trying to build up the number of people who subscribe to the channel. I'd like to make this channel a success, albeit a modest success. I don't think I'm ever going to get millions and millions of subscribers. I'm very aware that this is a little bit niche. I kind of like it though. Thank you very much for listening, and look after yourselves, and all being well, see you on the next one. I don't know whether the camera will pick them up, but we do have some blue banded demoiselles in this little area here just before the weir. I'm guessing they were waiting for the sunshine to get a bit stronger. So there's one flying around there. There's one just on a branch, a leaf at the bottom down there. So as the weather gets warmer, we'll see a lot more of them. In fact, there was one there. There's another one. Just to prove the point, I don't know whether this will be picked up by the camera. I'm hoping it will be. This is a really good spot to take photos of the demoiselles. They're very territorial. So as I'm eyeballing them, they're eyeballing me a little bit, just to try and work out what I'm doing. This is also a nice spot for them to kind of catch a few sun rays as well and warm up. There's some more there. Absolutely stunning little creatures. I really do like photographing them.